want to get these emails. Now, by default, in the body of the email, it's going to give you a link to the log entry, and the user can click on that link and it'll take them into eLogger and they can look at the log entry. It's also going to attach a PDF of the incident to the actual email. So they will have all their information, but I know sometimes you want to see a little bit of extra information in the email body so you don't have to look at the PDF. Maybe you're on your phone or something like that. So there's some fields over here on the right, and this is a fairly new feature. So if you're not seeing this on your system, you might need to do an upgrade. But I can say, I want to know who created it. So I can move that over here into the email body, and I can say has entered an incident for, and then I can pull like the location name. So maybe this will say Department A or a specific area in your facility. The log entry ID is, and I'll put the log entry ID in here. Maybe. So there's the log entry ID, and we're also going to give them a link. So that's what's going to appear in the body of the email. The PDF is still going to be attached. So this is every single time any kind of change is made to an incident log in any location, because Synapse North contains all of our locations. Emails are going to go out to BJ and info. So I'll go ahead and save this. And then I'm going to create a couple more. I want the department to know every time an incident happens as well. And especially I want the department to know when they need to sign off on it. So let's just actually do that one. We're going to let the subject default. We're just going to put me again in here, but this is where you'd put the Department A manager. So it's going to be Department A incidents, email body. I explained that last time, so I'm not going to redo it again. But this time we're going to put a condition in down at the bottom. And we want to say that anytime, and we're going to go with the status, anytime the status is equal to ready for department acknowledgement. That's when we want this email to go out. So people can go in and make changes to this and update it and do all kinds of things, but until the status gets set to ready for department acknowledgement, Department A is not going to get the email. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that, and you could do a different one for Department B, for Department C, so that you're always getting the correct person acknowledging it. And then we're going to do one for the facility as well. And the facility, we're going to just assume that they do all of the departments. But on theirs, we don't want them to get the email until it's ready for facility acknowledgement. Yeah, see, and if you don't do things right, it yells at you. It wants an email address. Okay, so I have 3 email rules here, and potentially when it was set to a complete, you'd want to have another one go off to your safety manager or maybe your plant manager or something like that. So you can set as many email rules as is necessary to communicate the information that you need to communicate. All right, so we're going to move on to user groups now. And I've already created an administration group, and I've got myself in the administration group, and I have pretty much full access to everything. But what we want is we want to set some security groups up so that our users have access to the appropriate things, and our departments have access to different things, and our facility manager has access to even different things. So let's go ahead and start with our user. And this is going to be the person who's right at the very bottom, and they're putting the information in, but they're not doing the approvals. So they're going to have minimum security. And I'm not going to, well, I'm going to assign my name to it for right now. And I'm only going to give them permission to, actually, I've come to one of those times where I have to shrink my screen a little bit. And I will make it big again as soon as everything fits on the screen again. I have to make my screen a little bit smaller for these demos so that you can see everything. So I've got an incident, and for users, I am actually going to allow them to edit the log entries. That's totally up to you and is at your discretion though. And I'm going to let the user do all locations for right now. All right, so there's this section in the middle. I'm going to blow it back up a little bit again. Right here called read-only templates. And I know we have very few clients who are actually using this functionality, and it's really great functionality, so I'd love to see you guys using it more. But what it does is we created 7 templates: status, classification, injury specifics, department manager acknowledgement, etc., all of these. And what this does is this controls whether or not the people in this user group can touch them or see them. So I don't want them filling out the department manager acknowledgement, and I don't want them filling out the facility manager acknowledgement. So by putting a check mark in those, I've made them read-only. And now, if the record hasn't been created yet, they're not going to see them. And if the record's been created and they are acknowledged, they'll be able to see them, but they won't be able to edit them, even though we're going to give them edit privileges to the rest of the information. So we're going to make it so that they can edit their own entries, but not edit anybody else's. And let's say we only want to give them edit capabilities for 2,500 minutes or something like that. I don't really even know how long that is, but let's go with 2,500 minutes. And I'll save this. And so now we have our user group. Now for our department managers, I'm going to actually just copy this user group. And I'm going to call this Department A Manager. And I'm going to go ahead and let them have edit privileges, just like the user had. But I don't want to give them read-only to the department manager acknowledgement portion, but maybe on the details of the incident. How about let's do this? The detailed description and the classification section, we're going to give them read-only rights to, and also the facility manager acknowledgement, because we don't want a department manager acknowledging for the facility manager. And we're going to let them edit everybody's entries because they are actually, when they're acknowledging, they're actually editing a record. So we have to let them edit everyone's records. And we're going to leave it open forever. So we'll get rid of this. And we'll save that. And we're going to do one more, and we'll copy the department manager for this one. And I'm going to leave them at edits, and we'll do the same thing, except I don't remember what I did. I think the details and maybe the classification were read-only, but in this case, the department manager is going to be read-only because we don't want the facility manager acknowledging for the department manager. And they're going to edit all entries forever, so we'll go ahead and save that. That's the facility manager. Something we probably should have changed on Department A here. In fact, we'll do it right now. I'm going to edit that one, and I am actually just going to only give them permission to see Department A. And I'll make the screen bigger again. Whoops, that was too big. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to actually become a user of the system and no longer an administrator, because we're going to go test this and see if BJ did everything correct this morning. So whenever we make a security change in eLogger on the user groups tab, we have to shut down our browser, any open browsers you have, and reopen it in order for the new security settings to take effect. So since I changed myself from an administrator to a user, I have to log out and log back in. Now you notice I still have the System Administration tab. That is controlled by a different kind of security. The security I'm referring to is access within the Users Groups tab. So I only have access to incidents for all of Synap North, and I can edit them and create them. So let's go ahead and try to do that and see how that works out for me. So since this is the first entry I'm making into this eLogger system, I have to pick my shift and crew. I will not need to do that after this first record. So I've chosen my Department A, and I'm going to make an incident log. And looky there, we actually have a data entry form. So now you see all of our templates have come together to create a form that is very similar to, whoops, sorry, I'm going mouse crazy here. There, very similar to this. I'm sorry I can't put both of them up on the screen at the same time for you, but this is the form, and this is what we've created. So we can very easily go in and say, we're investigating this. Very easy to fill out for your users. It's mostly point and click. You can see where I put in my instructions to the user, how I have my link to Google in this particular case, my formatted description. Why don't I just put some Mickey Mouse data in? How's that work? Nature of accident. It could have been a oil spill, sprained arm. You'll live. There we go. Detailed description. Slipped on oil. Body parts. Injured. What did I say? Arm. Left. And it was a sprain. Now I could keep going on here and add as many rows of data as I want to this, but I'm going to stop. Now one thing you're not seeing is the department manager acknowledgement and the facility manager acknowledgement. And that is because as a user, I am not in the security group that has access to those sections. So if they don't exist, which of course they're not going to on a brand new record, they're not going to be displayed here. So I'm going to go ahead and save my record here. I'm returned to my home page, the View Logs page, and here's the record that's been created. Now, of course, we can add lots and lots of these in here, but the one thing I want to do is I want to say, okay, I'm done now. This is ready for department acknowledgement. So now as soon as I save this, I'm actually getting an email. And I could click on that link, but I need to turn myself into a different user right now. So instead of being a user, I want to be a department manager right now. And like I said earlier, I have to close this down and reopen it to become a department manager. Okay, so if I were to go ahead and edit this record right now, if I scroll down to the bottom, you can see that the department manager acknowledgement section is now displayed. So I can go ahead and add my acknowledgement. It's captured my name, the date and time automatically. All I have to do is say, yes, I acknowledge it. And I can save that. And a little trick, if you actually leave one of these open and don't hit the save button, the big save at the bottom will save one row of data for you. But you should try to remember to do the save. The other thing I want to do on here is I want to make this ready for facility acknowledgement so that the next person gets the email. Okay, so that's been saved. Whoops. Okay, going mouse happy again. I'm going to go back one more time and I'm going to turn myself into a facility manager. By the way, this users tab under administration is pretty handy for just changing your security group for testing. I use it all the time. And we're shutting down our browser one more time. Actually, we're going to do it 2 more times. And now this time if I go ahead and edit it, I am the facility manager. And by the way, remember we made classification and details read-only for the facility manager. You can see that I cannot get to them, cannot change anything. So as the facility manager, I'm going to make this complete. And I'm going to add my acknowledgement. And save that. And now we have the record complete. Now just one more quick time, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to change myself to the user again so you can see what the actual user of the system is.